Hello there and welcome to another video. Today we take our inspiration from a fine looking set of 1960s JB Halley clubs. Here are the time checks as usual, should you not wish to watch the whole video, but skip at your own peril and don't blame me if you 3-putt 5 greens in your next round. JB Halley were a long running company, but up until starting this video I knew little about them. My understanding is now greater, so let's get started by reviewing the clubs.
Let's begin with the woods in the usual fashion. I have here a 2, 3 and a 4. I don't have the 1 wood unfortunately. These are actually one of the first sets of classic clubs that I bought, and I still haven't played these woods, primarily because, as you can see here, the whipping has vanished on the 2 wood, and there's also a bit of a crack, or a couple of cracks. I'm looking at it, about 3 cracks in the neck of the wood there, so I need to fix this wood up before I can play it. The other 2 are okay though, so I'm going to play those later on when I get these clubs out on the course. But let's have a look at this one. We've got a very nice signature on the crown there. It's black painted head, JB Halley. The face is a 4-screw insert with the 2 vertical lines there, which you can use for your alignment. It's got a nice ferrule, same as on the irons actually, but it's useful to note how this ferrule has been turned down so that the whipping comes down the neck of the club and then finishes flush with the ferrule. And if we look at that on one of the other woods where the whipping is still in place, we can see it gets a nice tidy finish. So the whipping comes along and stops at the ferrule. I'll carry on with this one, the 3 wood. If we look on the sole, we can see the shell cleat mark that was used by JB Halley for many years, one of a number that they used. We've got the model there, Tournament, and it says made in Scotland. Number 3, bit of wear on the sole, but nothing too bad. Playing this in dry weather shouldn't affect it at all. And we can see it's a True Temper Pro Fit regular flex. And we'll just have a look at the grip. Nice stitched leather grip, original. Hopefully we'll see a better version of that somewhere. Can't quite read what it says on that one. And with a nice butt cap there with a screw in the end. So that's the woods. As I'm not going to be playing the 2 wood, I will need an alternative to take out on the course with me, and for that I'm going to use another 2 wood, and it's a Slazenger Bobby Lock 262. This one's persimmon, whereas these are laminated maple, as we can see by the plywood look of the wood. This one is a persimmon wood. Nice horseshoe pattern there, bit of a tiger effect almost. So that will be the club that I take on the course. Let's have a look at the irons now. Here are the irons then. In the set I've got 3 through 2 pitching wedge, but on the table here I've got the 4, 6, 8 and the wedge. So let's have a look at these. Very similar to the Wilson Dynapower style, with that bar back across the back there. We've got the JB Halley signature again, stainless, tournament model, and the shell cleat mark. On the face we've got a nice set of grooves. Not on the sole, we've just got the number 4. I do like the colours on this one. I don't think they come out on the video very well, but we've got green for tournament and gold for the JB Halley and the shell mark, and the number is again in green, but it's probably not coming out very well on the video. And that's matched by the ferrule, where we've got a green and, well, as gold as you can get with plastic at the time, I imagine. We'll have a quick look at the wedge. Same style, same bar back there. This one you can see the paint feel a little bit better, I think. So gold for the shell and JB Halley stainless, and green for tournament. Same face, and on the sole we've got the name wedge. The 6 iron is slightly different. I think this has been re-gripped at some time. It's a slightly thicker grip, different colour as well. It does have stitching, so nice grip, that one. I'll just bring alongside it one of the other grips, and as you can see there, but it is a slightly thicker grip. So that's the irons. Obviously there isn't a sand iron in the set there, so for the sand iron I'm going to be using another JB Halley club. This one is quite a bit later, and it's a Pin Master, Halley Pin Master. Very nice logo there, where the P has been turned into a green with the flag in the middle. So nice bit of design work going on there. On the sole we've got made in Scotland, sand iron, stainless. And that just leaves now the putter. Here's the putter then. Straight away we can see it's the same model, Tournament, Halley, made in England, stainless. This one though it has a blue paint fill, so I'm pretty sure that this was built for a lady golfer. It still have the same ferrule colours. Perhaps they didn't have any blue ferrules. It was very common for ladies clubs to be fitted with blue ferrules, but here they seem to have used a blue paint fill instead. Similar sort of face to the irons, and the shaft label is again that true temper with a separate band for the flex. Slightly different band to the previous one, but the grip itself is another stitched leather grip, and this one we can see the writing better, and it does say JB Halley there. Now that's the putter that I'm going to be using then. It's a shorter putter than normal. I think it's about 34 inches, and I do like a shorter putter, so that should be very good for me to be able to use.
Time now to take a look at the history that I've been able to find out for JB Halley and Company. It's generally accepted that golf, as we know it today, emerged and evolved over many years in Scotland, and up until the second half of the 19th century there are very few recorded examples of golf being played anywhere else in the world. It's not surprising, therefore, that most of the equipment used by golfers was also manufactured in Scotland. Golf was slow in gaining popularity in England. In 1869 there were less than 10 golf clubs in the whole of England. By 1910 there were over 1,000. The number of golfers increased in England by an even greater rate, and that created a huge new demand for golf equipment. It's no surprise then that companies began to be formed in England for the manufacture of golfing requisites. One of the earliest of these was JB Halley of London, who, according to this catalogue from the 1990s, have been manufacturing golf equipment since 1880. Exactly what their business comprised in the early 1880s is hard to say. It's possible that they retailed items for existing Scottish manufacturers, but it's easy to imagine that they soon started producing the simpler accessories for golf themselves. Golf balls were undoubtedly one of the first of these. At the end of the 19th century, golf balls were made from gutta percha, produced from the sap of the gutta percha tree. Latin name Palaquim gutta. Hope I've pronounced that right. By compressing the warmed and softened gutta percha in a mould, it was then allowed to cool and harden to provide a hard-wearing golf ball. This was a relatively simple and unskilled process, requiring no more investment than some steel moulds and a press. Soon JB Halley were producing a range of balls. One of the most popular was the Okobo, a name that Halley's would continue to use for various products over the coming years. This page from Golf Monthly magazine, November 1932, in a series on men in the trade, provides some useful background information and addresses for the company. An oddity in the piece, though, is that it says that the business was founded in 1899 rather than the 1880 given in the 1991 catalogue. It gives the first address at Finsbury Pavement, soon after moving to Finsbury Circus. James Halley himself died in 1908, and according to the excellent website Antique Golf Clubs from Scotland, he placed himself in front of a motor car and was killed. The inquest heard that he seemed to worry about the state of his business a great deal, and that he was suffering from an extreme nervous breakdown. The verdict was suicide as a result of temporary insanity. The Golf Monthly piece states that shortly before he passed away, Mr. Halley arranged for Donald Wilkins to take over management of the business, which indeed is what happened. Not long after, Halley's moved to White Street in Moorfields. In 1924, the business was formed into a company with Donald Wilkins as managing director. And in 1930, owing to increased business, we read that the White Street premises, and more interestingly the club making factory in Goswell Road, I'd not heard of the Goswell Road address before, were both vacated and the whole business moved to one building at Granville Square, King's Cross Road, London WC1. The Granville name would later be adopted as a club model. It will be very useful to find out what work was carried out at Goswell Road. For instance, was there a forge there for making iron heads? Again, according to Antique Golf Clubs from Scotland, Halley began producing golf clubs in 1889. There are many examples of hickory-shafted JB Halley clubs to be found, as we've already looked at with the 3 different cleat marks. But did JB Halley make their own clubs, particularly the irons? In his book Collecting Old Golf Clubs, Alec Watt states that JB Halley took over the company Anstruther Golf Irons, who had their own forge, but it doesn't say when this was. But to muddy the waters even further, the 1964 edition of the Golfer's Handbook lists under iron and cleat makers both the names of Anstruther Golf Irons Company and Halley and Company Limited. They seem to have remained at the Granville Square address through and beyond the Second World War, as this advert from 1959 for JB Halley's version of a bullseye putter still has them at the Granville Square address. In 1963, another milestone in the history of the business occurred when it was acquired by the entrepreneur Ronald Sands, who is perhaps most famous for his involvement in the Otter amphibious caravan, which he manufactured along with its inventor Alan Eckford. They sold about 200 of them, and if you want to know more about this fascinating caravan cum craft, I've put a link in the description to a video of the time showing Ron and Alan in action. Ronald Sands was already running the successful company Sam Brothers, which had initially started making tennis, squash and badminton products before branching into bar billiards, where they became very successful. They were taken over by Grays in 1969. Their factory was based in Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire. And not long after buying JB Halley, Sams moved the business to Hoddesdon. In 1968, in a major investment for the company, a factory was opened in St Andrews on the corner of Largo Road and Broomfolds Avenue, where they assembled and finished clubs. As can be seen from the photographs, this was a large facility and they must have been expecting for quite a growth in sales. Interestingly, the irons and putter featured in this video, although the same model, are mostly not stamped as to where they were made, but the 7-iron is stamped made in Scotland and the putter is stamped made in England. Could these have been made just before and just after the opening of the St Andrews factory? Certainly all clubs from after this time seem to have been marked made in Scotland. The business saw a bit of a revival under Sams and exports became a large part of the company's sales. The great diversity of golfing requisites continued and many of these can be found on eBay today, such as the Captive Practice Ball, the Akobo Practice Putting Cup and the Parachute Golf Ball. Like most UK golf companies, in the 1980s the competition from overseas manufacturers was taking a larger and larger share of the market and times were becoming harder and harder. In 1989, the Hoddesdon facility was closed after the company was bought by Gathier International, who were based in Sandwich, Kent. But Gathier themselves went into receivership in 1991, and a consortium which included Ronald Sams, who was by now in his mid-70s, bought the St Andrews factory and the JB Halley name. The catalogue featured in this video must date from this time, as the back was printed with JB Halley is a division of Gathier International, but this has been crossed out and a sticker placed over it reading JB Halley and Company, Ramsgate, Sandwich, Kent. But this was really the final throw of the dice for the company, and they struggled to hold their sales share and to make a profit, finally shutting up shop for good in October 1997 with the loss of 4 jobs. The strong pound killing export sales was one of the reasons given, but in any event it was yet another sad loss of a once great British golf manufacturing company. How can we summarise the company of JB Halley? Well, it's probably fair to say that they didn't introduce any great club innovations. They did manage to weather many turbulent times and stayed in business for over 100 years. Perhaps one of the reasons for this was the large diversity of equipment that they sold, covering just about everything that a golfer might require. And while they might not have broken any ground with club designs, some of their requisites were innovative, such as the captive ball and the Akobo putting improver. Before we move on to the steel shafted irons that I've recorded by JB Halley, let's take a quick look at a couple of items from the 1930s. First, the Halley golf ball cleaner, and then the straightaway putter. Straightaway was granted as a trademark to JB Halley on March the 9th, 1932.
And here's an example of just that ball cleaner. So we've got a fastening at the bottom there. Carefully take that off because the rubber on this is quite old and perished. And we've got two sponges there which you would moisten and use those to clean the ball, and a piece of string to attach it to your bag. The Halley golf ball cleaner, patented there, number 404322. Nice item. And here is that straightaway putter, the metal band across the top which gives us the sweet spot. As you can see, it's a wooden head. I'm pretty sure this would be persimmon. On the sole we've got the name, if I can bring that round so we can read it. You can see there, straightaway. It doesn't say Halley anywhere on the putter, unfortunately, but we've got three screws at the top and one at the bottom there. We can see the shaft, the steel shaft coming through with a wooden plug to prevent water and moisture going up inside the club. It was whipped at one time. The whipping has come off and we've got some slight cracks in there, so this does need to be restored. I doubt whether I'll take the shaft out because it's not a club that will see a lot of stress during the putting stroke. I'll probably just feed a little bit of glue in there and tie that up with a tie wrap while it sets, and then just whip it up. The shaft is a stepless shaft. It's just got a narrow taper, and the grip is a leather wrap. It is a very nice club with a lovely weight to it, so I do mean to get this one restored fairly soon, and I'll try and make a video with it in play.
To finish, here are the steel shafted irons by JB Halley that I've recorded, presented in rough date order, although the dates are estimates in most cases. To start with, from the 1936-37 catalogue is the 3-point iron. I haven't seen one of these, but at least we have a date for it. Then two pyramid marked irons. The one on the left has a coated shaft and the one on the right a chrome shaft, but I'm pretty sure that they're both from the 1930s. Next, a straightaway iron, as shown in the 1936-37 catalogue, with coated shaft, and below it a later version from the 1950s or 60s with a chrome shaft. Two irons without model names next. The one on the left is, I'd guess, the earlier with a coated shaft, and on the right we have a version with a chrome shaft. Then the power line with the shell cleek mark, which I've seen with rocket and profit shafts, so it could have been introduced in the 1950s. Into the 1960s now, and the green streak. And the featured irons, the tournament model, also with the shell cleek mark. Next is the Powerline 71, which I've seen in an equipment list for 1977, although it does look older. Two versions of the Pin Master now, also from around 1970. Two Peter Butler models, the Autograph and the Personal model. Peter was a successful pro from the end of the 1950s to the start of the 1970s. He had 14 wins on the British PGA circuit. His best finish in a major was tied 6th in the Open, and he played in the Ryder Cup on 4 occasions. The Granville model, also mentioned in the 1977 equipment list. This model ran for many years and is shown in the 1991 catalogue featured in this video. A few cavity back clubs to take us to the end. The Pro HT, also in the 1977 equipment list. The Thistle Mark II, featured in an equipment list from 1981. I haven't seen the Thistle Mark I. The Halley SAO 78, featured in a 1983 equipment list. The Powerline Tour model, seen in an equipment list for 1987. And finally, the Pinmaster Mark II, seen in an equipment list for 1989. Well, this video's become a lot longer than I was anticipating originally. I found out a lot more about JB Halley than I initially thought I would do. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time when I'll be playing the clubs featured in the video. Bye!